And let's wrap up the 16th chapter of the 4th part of Silver on the Tree by Susan Cooper. The name of the part is The Midsummer Tree. The name of the chapter is Sunrise. Will, Bran, and Barney are back in Wales at the time of the Plantagenets. The White Rider has tried to take the sword from Bran, and they are making an escape. Only when they reached a mountain path where the land rose very steeply, and Owain motioned them to dismount and follow him on foot, did Will look openly back and saw smoke rising from the grey roofs they had left and flame leaping. Owain said bitterly, "The Norman rides always on the back of the dark, as the Saxon did and the Dane." Barney said unhappily, "I'm all those things mixed up, I suppose. Norman, Anglo-Saxon, and Dane." "In what century?" Wifter said, pausing to stare ahead at the mountain. "The 20th, Barney said. The Welshman stopped very still for a moment. He looked at Will. Will nodded. "The Sumara," Wifter said, and then he smiled. "If the circle spreads that far forward, it is not so bad to find failure here for a time, until the last summoning of the circle outside all time." He looked down at Barney. "No wonder about your race, boy. Times change the nature of them all in the end." Bran said from above them urgently, "The dark is coming." In his hand, Darius was burning a brighter blue. Owain looked down the mountain, the way they had come, and his mouth tightened. Will turned too, gasped. A sheet of white flame was moving steadily toward them, up through the bracken, without a sound or heat. Remorseless in its pursuit of those who sought to destroy, a troop of Glendore's soldiers stood directly in its path. "It is not so bad as it seems," the Welsh leader said, watching Will's face. "Glyfter has the tricks of an old one, be assured." The white teeth flashed in his dark face, and he clapped Will on the shoulder, pushing him. "Go," he said. "Go up that path, and you shall shortly be where you are meant to be. Leave me to take the dark on a dance into these hills, and if my men and I shall seem to be kept in these hills forever, that will not be such a bad thing, for it will prove to my people that the Lord of the Dark was wrong, and that hope does not lie dead in a tomb, but is always alive for the hearts of men." He glanced at Bran and raised his dagger in a formal salute. "Pab her, my brother," he said gravely. Then he and his men were gone, darting back down the mountain, and Will led the way up the path on which he had been set. It wound between bleak points of grey rocks, narrower and narrower, until they came to a sudden turn, where the rock overhung the path, and each of them had to bend his head to pass beneath a low natural arc. And at the moment when all three of them were in line, on that piece of the path which lay under the rock, there was a whirling and a turning of the air about them, and a long, strange, husky shrieking in their ears. And when the giddiness went out of their minds, they were in a different place at a different time. And that is the end of chapter 16.